Do you read me?
Be advised, you are coming in weak and unreadable.
Say again, Con Tower. This is Haji. Do you read me? Over.
Pacho, this is Con Tower. I read you Lima Charlie.
Com Tower, Com Tower. Request permission to launch and commence the field op. Over.
Stand by. Pacho, permission granted. Say again, permission granted.
Roger that. Launching podcast in 3, 2. You are now entering the field op with your host, Pacho Correa, Chief Warrant Officer 3, United States Marine Corps retired. Get some. Hurrah! Get some. Hurrah! What's going on, everybody? Happy Baby Friday, or Friday's Eve, as I like to refer it as well. Today we have a really good and interesting show on a topic that I know you've heard here on the show in the past with other guests and so on and so forth. So I think we want to keep expanding on it. But before we get started, let's go ahead and get all the initial stuff out of the way. One, that this show, I spent many years in the military protecting our great Constitution as well as this great nation of ours. So this show is all about freedom of speech and the right to bear arms. So hey, if you don't like what you're hearing right now or the show, you have the right to move on and check something else out. Perhaps, again, as I said it before, someone from SitchRadio.com, they got some great shows on there as well. Combat Vet Vision, I podcast that. Among the Todd DeBow show as well, many shows. So check it out. And if you like what you hear and you want to stick around, make sure you to like, subscribe, and follow, as well as recommend me to your friends and anybody else for that matter that may enjoy the show. And if you want to be a guest, hit me up on the comments, and let's talk about it. All right. So also this show is brought to you by Castle Global Services. Castle Global Services have an array of different services, all the way from healthcare to internet, mobile, as well as residential services, security. Speaking of internet, one of the reasons why we're running a little bit behind is because I've been having issues with my internet. So they have between AT&T and other providers on there. So we're going to go ahead and switch the show over to that internet platform. So hopefully we won't have these issues in the future. But you know how it is with technology. It's not perfect, and it wouldn't be the field op if comm wasn't messed up. So that's out of the way. We have a really awesome show. We're going to talk finances today. My guest, she's been doing this she's got over 20 years of experience when it comes to financings and many other things. She's very knowledgeable, and we just happened to cross paths not too long ago. I mean, we just clicked right away, and I think this would be a great addition to the show and to pass on some information. So let's bring Evelyn Quinoa to the fold, everybody.
Hey, Pacho, how are you?
Great. How are you today, Evelyn?
Doing awesome. Super excited. Thank you for inviting me onto your show.
Oh, no. I think, as soon as, Vivian connected us and everything, we got to give props to Vivian. And then we started talking. I mean, this finances and investing and many other things is just, something that I guess you could say is a hobby of mine. So, and I think it's some really good information. So I'll stop bumping my lips here, and I'll tell, to go ahead and tell the audience, introduce yourself, give us your background, all that good stuff, so they can, get an idea of, where you're coming from.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Well, so like you said, I've been in the financial services now for about 25 years. Started back my career with Chase, and got introduced to the company I'm with now in 2002. And I fell in love with the concept of teaching people. My first career, Bach, I don't know if we've talked about this before, but my first career was in teaching, right? My mom was an ex-school teacher. Oh. Yeah, so I thought, teaching is my thing, right? So I went into the classroom, elementary, and I was like, okay, this is not for me. But I knew that I love teaching and I love helping people. And so I went into the financial field, have a degree in business, and I've been licensed. I have multiple licenses and helping clients, plan out their finances for over 20 years, like I said. So one of the things I think, Bacho, that you and I discussed today, we thought would be, nice and good to bring up to the show today was how to build our finances the correct way, right? And I think we have a slide that we had put together, right? That we were going to share to kind of build on that, right? So right there, as you see on the left hand side, it talks about building a strong financial house. And Pacho, the concept, right, of building a house, I relate that when I talk to my clients, just like when you're building a real house, right? I always tell them you need to start building your home and you need to build from foundation, and you got to build strong, right? Because if the foundation is not strong, what's going to happen to everything else that you build upon that, right? It would collapse. So same thing applies, same principles apply when we're dealing with our finances. So if you notice there on the left hand side of that financial house, right, it talks to us about in the financial house, what's the structure that we help our clients, that we should be helping our clients, that I help my clients to build it, right? And the
Right.
foundation you see there, Batra, if you notice there, it talks about life insurance, right? Now, a lot of times people hear life insurance like life insurance, right? So I said, well, life insurance really is just another word for income protection, right? Because that's really what life insurance is for. So in the picture, if you notice to the side of the little house, there's like two individuals there, right? They have a little dollar sign. And really what that represents is nowadays, Bacho, right? Most households, they have multiple incomes that are coming into that household, right?
Right,
And
right. Yeah, you got the husband and wife, or
right.
whatever it is, the two folks, with jobs and so on and so forth.
Right, right. They're bringing in income into the house, and most of the time, all the income that goes into that household is needed, right? It's dependent on. So, what we explain to our clients is in the event, God forbid, that one of those individuals was to pass away prematurely, and one of those incomes that we're depending on was to stop coming into that household, what would that look like for those that we leave behind, right? And really, what would that little financial house look like if that's not in place, right? Would we agree that normally that crumbles down financially? So the foundation is the life insurance, which is what helps to replace that income. And Pacho, there's a rule of thumb that we use when it comes to life insurance that I think it's important to maybe bring this up, right? Because a lot of times what I've come across is individuals are either underinsured, right? Or maybe they have no life insurance. A lot of times they have maybe something through their jobs, or maybe even they had something through the military, right? And that's all that they're depending on. And a lot of times it's not sufficient, right? So what I always tell my clients is in order for you to know that you're properly protected, what you just need to figure out, it's a simple formula, is you're going to figure out how much on a monthly basis the family would need, right, Bacho? So to kind of keep it simple, let's just say that you're like, well, Evelyn, what I bring into my household right now, it's about $5,000 a month. Just gonna give you a number, okay? I tell them, well, take that 5,000 and let's annualize that, right? So 5,000 times 12, that's $60,000 a year. Well, if 60,000 is what your family would need in order to, or that you would need to have to be able to replace your income, you just do that 60,000 times 10, okay? And that's the rule of thumb, times 10, which would be $600,000 of coverage. Okay. And Pacho, the reason for that, if it's okay with you, I want to take it just one step further, right? Is because in the event, God forbid, that something would happen, right? And that family receives that 600,000, if they're, and again, this part, it's part of the education that I help our clients with, right? Is if they're educated on what to do with that 600,000, and let's say they go ahead and invest that in a vehicle that can generate them, let's say conservatively, maybe 7 to 8% return. Well, that 7 to 8% return can replace that $60,000 a year income indefinitely. Okay.
Right.
Um,
No, and I think, so one of the premise because for that you and I had talked about is that just to kind of build, backtrack just a little bit is that for us service members, we have the luxury. I guess you could say it's a luxury or whatever is that, and they're not financial advisors by no means. But when you come in, you have different sections, infrastructure that just it's kind of like a corporation. They have an HR, they have an admin office, this that. So on an annual basis, when you come in, they're like, they say, okay, hey, make sure you get into the Montgomery jail if you want to go to school. Make sure you put money on that. Oh, by the way, in the admin side, make sure that you have your survivor benefit plan, beneficiaries, you all these other items, and things set up, so
We're
a
losing.
warfighter can concentrate on going on deployments and doing their piece. So once the service is done, all these things are gone. You don't have somebody auditing you on an annual basis, keeping all your beneficiaries. Oh, by the way, you just got divorced. Make sure the ex-spouse as a beneficiary and put maybe
Yes.
your mom, your kids, or whatever. We don't have
Yes.
that. So, in your past experience, what do you see, in regards to the things that we talked about in the house being, instead of being upside down,
Yeah.
what is that we should focus on a basic, at a basic level? Because we're going to bring you back and we're going to talk about this even more. But let's,
Mhm.
what should we focus on to set yourselves up for success post service?
Okay. Well, you just brought up a very important point about beneficiaries, right? So that's sometimes something that most people, like you said, they'll get something started and it's kind of like set and forget, right? And unfortunately, that these are things that we need to periodically come back and review. Like you said, life changes, right? So you might need to update stuff. A lot of times, what I find is individuals, they show me their paperwork, Pacho, and they have like literally one beneficiary. Okay, so it's always recommended you have your primary beneficiary, which is it could be multiple, it could be more than one, right? But the primary, Pacho, is the person that in the event the person passes away, these are the individuals that are getting that money first, right? And in this case, we're talking about life insurance, but that also pertains to any investment accounts, maybe TSP, retirement accounts, right? So you have your primary, and then there's always a section which is called the contingent beneficiary, and most people miss that part. And that's super important as well because you want to have a contingent because that's in the event that something happens to your primary, there's a backup of who you want that money to go to, Pacho. So I think it's important, in reference to that, to make sure that at least once a year, you're reviewing these things. You're going back and saying, who do I have as beneficiary on my investments, on my savings, on my life insurance? Which again, this all ties into, and this might, maybe not enough time for this today, but definitely ties into having legal documents in place, right? In order to secure all these things.
Right.
So, yeah. So I don't know. I mean, in reference to that, it's just I think it's being conscious of it. I have these conversations with my clients all the time. I said the same way that we need to go for an annual checkup to the doctor, we need to have our financial checkup once a year. And it's keeping all these things on check, Paco, making sure that we're going back, Paco, and we're checking to make sure that we have everything up to date. If our kids maybe now are 18 years of age or older, now we can go ahead and maybe name them as beneficiary if they're no longer minors. So these are just good updates to be looking for sure.
No,
Did we
and
lose
it's
you?
important because that's something you need, and we've seen it in the past. I've seen it, and the story, the military stories where, oh, so and so, there was a training accident, so and so, the beneficiaries. Oh, by the way, it was his ex girlfriend or his ex wife. Now his mom is, and his immediate family is not going to get these services, but you brought up some good points on there as far as going past the service, and you and I spoke a little bit, kind of talking about what we're going to talk about, but things that after the service, hey, we're highly let's just say encouraged
Yes.
to put money away on your TSP, on your thrift savings plan. And even me, even to this day, I've been retired out of the service since 2014. I still have some monies left in there, and I was under the impression that it's going to grow, or I could keep investing. But that's not so. And you mentioned vehicles to make those money grow. So can you talk about, hey, a TSP is only, the things about the limits of TSP, and then how to using different vehicles to make your money grow?
For sure, for sure, for sure. So the TSP, right, known as what's the thrift savings plan, known as the TSP. While you're in the service, yes, you're contributing into this plan. Now, the moment that you're no longer in service, this plan the money can literally stay there. Like you just said, since 2014, you still have money sitting there, right? So it can stay there, but you're not able to continue contributing money into the plan, right? So what happens a lot of time, let's use, for example, Pacho, like you said, since 2014. So that's been, 8 years now. A lot of times that money just kind of stayed there. And maybe there were opportunities to make some adjustments to those investments where it could have had more growth than maybe what it would have. Again, it's good to review. Maybe it's been sitting in a perfect investment, but what are the options that the person has? So once they separate from service, that TSP could be what's known as done as a rollover, right? So the IRS gives us a 60-day window where you can move this money out of this TSP plan into an individual account, which is known as an IRA, an individual retirement account. And if you move it from the TSP into this IRA account, then you avoid any penalties, because if you're not the age of retirement, then there would be some penalties. But if you do it as a rollover, you avoid those penalties. And now this IRA allows you to continue contributing funds into this retirement account. And Pacho, the guidelines is as of 2022, if the person is under the age of 50, they can contribute as much as $6,000 for the year. And if the person is 50 years of age or older, they can contribute up to 7,000. Now, the only thing is, though, they do need to have employment income in order to be able to contribute into the IRA account. Okay. And then now once you put it into this IRA, there's options, Pacho, as far as where that money now could be directed and where it could be invested so that that retirement money can continue growing for you.
No, I think it's important that, obviously, I'll use me again, using me as an example, that, this money could have been, just as easily growing in a different vehicle, like, let's just call it that,
Yeah.
and still producing, generating dividends or profit, for those of you,
Yes.
for those who don't know what that term is. And, to this day, instead of just sitting there idle, hey, the money's not going anywhere, but obviously, it could have been gaining all these other, nice
Return.
to have little tidbits, yeah,
Yes.
returns. And, now there's nothing. I mean, there's some, but it could have been even down, a couple of more percentages.
It could have been a little bit higher. So, Pacho, there's a rule of money that it's called the rule of 72. Okay, so if you look it up, called rule of 72, it's a mathematical rule. You what you do is basically you take 72 and you divide it by the interest rate that you're earning on your money. So just to keep it very simple, right? For math purposes for me, let's keep it simple. Let's say that your TSP is earning, let's just say a whopping 1%. Okay, you have it in the fixed income and it's earning you 1%. Well, if you take 72 divided by 1, that equals 72, right? And believe it or not, that sounds crazy. Pacho, can you hear me?
Yeah,
We're good?
I can hear you.
Okay. So anyway, so if
Yeah.
you were earning that 1%, right, applying the rule of 72, it literally would take 72 years for that money to double. Now, think about that,
Oh
right?
my God.
72 years. Exactly, exactly. So one of the things that we always talk about is we got to find ways that we can invest our money. Number one, you definitely want it to, perform definitely better than one. And ideally that at least it's keeping up or greater than inflation. Now I know inflation right now, it's not the norm, I get it. But traditionally, right? Traditionally, at least 3%. I know now it's way higher than that, but we can be optimistic and think that that eventually will go back down. But again, there are accounts that you can generate, and it's accounts that are nothing new. It's no new way of investing. I mean, for example, Pacho, mutual funds, right? I know you're very familiar with mutual funds.
Yes. I was about to hit you up about that. Let's talk about those bad boys, because
So
I got
mutual
super
funds.
excited when we were talking this weekend.
Yeah, so mutual funds, they've been on since 1924, right? So they've been on for 98 years. It's definitely not a new way of investing, right? There are over 17,000 plus mutual funds available to pick from, okay? And there's a lot of those that have averaged between 8 to 12% annually for the last 98 years, okay? And I said that correctly. Yes, for the last 98 years. And again, it's an average return, which is why typically they're not investments for short term. Usually if the client has, less than 3 years of a time horizon, I tell them don't invest it. But if we're talking about retirement money, where you're not going to have to touch those funds for at least 3 years or longer, it's one of the safest ways to invest. And again, an average, if you're averaging, Bacho, let's just say 10% return, and we apply this rule of 72, 72 divided by 10, right? So now you're averaging, your money is doubling for you approximately every 7 years. Now we could, that's a whole lot better than at 1% every 72, right or wrong,
No,
right?
no, yeah, of course. I mean, those are good numbers.
Yeah, those are, and again, I mean, it all depends what portfolio the client's using, but there's just a lot of options out there, Pacho. The great thing is we have options, and it's just a matter of really getting better informed, to make the right decision on how to invest the money. Make sense?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Obviously, you know, in a day, and we kind of this week when we were talking about it, there's a lot of information out there. I think, and it's great. We live in a day and age where everybody walks around with one of these computers
Yep,
in their pocket, and we take cameras. We no longer use the to take
exactly.
photos, and with this computer. So there's a lot of young ambitious folks who call themselves now gurus, and that they with knowledge and know-how, which is great. However, the information being passed is not always the best. And obviously, some may be getting sponsored, and that's why they push these certain apps and whatever else. But you have to do a due diligence and find folks like you who've been doing this for over 20 plus years, and can give you and point you in the right direction to make the right choices. Because ultimately, in the end, you know, you, you're going to guide the individual, but I mean, but in the
Right.
end, it's like, no, you know what? We're going to go ahead and go with this vehicle. Okay, just let you know that XYZ, it's not the best choice, but hey, if we can give it a try, whatever, right? I mean,
Yep. It's not, like I say, it's not a cookie cutter type of thing, right? We all have different situations, right? We have different goals financially. So it's just a matter of making sure that you're doing what's right for you, and a lot of times people are getting misinformed, of what they should be doing, based on other people's situation, right? So it's just really getting better informed to figure out what's going to work best for you, for your family. And that's, in my opinion, that's the way to go. So it's just reviewing everything, going back to what you're saying, it's reviewing everything, making sure that you're doing the best thing possible to get you in the best financial situation, right?
right, right. Now, you had mentioned also in the past that you have your background in teaching, and you hold many multiple different licenses. Um, how has that helped you? I guess expand yourself and in the different markets, because you can help pretty much a lot of people in many different states, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So, I mean, since I've held my licenses now for over 20 years, I am appointed in multiple states across the US. Not only that, I'm the broker at my office. So we have 172 licensed agents that work out of my office, and we do have agents in different states. So we are able to service, clients or advise them, uh, regardless of pretty much in any state that they live in the US, we're able to service them.
No, and that's great. And I know that as we were getting to know each other, you also mentioned you use your background, but you also help people get some of these licenses as well if they're interested. Now, what would be the benefit of having some of these licenses on the personal level, as well as and what they can use it for?
Yeah, well, on a personal level, basically with everything that they get to learn, right? The agents that work with me, the personal knowledge that they get to be able to manage their own finances, right? That's priceless, right? So number one, it's for the knowledge that they're able to attain. Number two, of course, the individuals that they're able to go out there and help. There's so, like I said, there's so much misinformation, especially Pancho in the middle income market, right? I always say middle income market really do not have anywhere that they can go to get this kind of information. Wealthy people do, right? I mean, every financial company wants to work with the wealthy, but middle income market, they're kind of stuck again in the middle, right? Because lower income usually have government help, right? But middle income, they have no help. So they're able to go out and educate families so that they can make better decisions. And then at the same time, they're able to make great income by being able to help these families, right? The compensation that they earn by doing this is awesome as well. So yes, you're correct. We are looking and we are expanding in multiple states. Even if the person has no experience, we do provide them with all the training. We are sponsoring all the state licensing. So one of them being the life and annuity license. Second is a Series 6, which is an investment license. We're also sponsoring the Series 63 that allows you to work now in multiple states. And we're sponsoring a mortgage license, which is to be able to help clients, purchase or refinance their mortgages. So we are looking as well, Pacho. Yes.
I think it's good because one of the things is that, again, uh, we're the service member. They're getting all those things in the administrative side in the house, but as they move on from the service, whether they've done 4 years, because I'm a two-time offender in the sense that I got out after my first enlistment, and Vivian can tell you all about it because I lived under her roof for a little bit. Uh,
Okay.
and I decided to go back in. I remarried, and then I went back into the service, and then many years later, I retired out of the service. So the point I'm trying to make with that is that there's a lot of anxieties because, oh my God, what am I going to do next? My paycheck, because in the military, first and the 15th, guaranteed. What we say, the eagle is going to crap. So
Yeah.
I mean that check is going to drop regardless. And so a lot of us don't know what we're going to do after we grow up, because I mean it's the
Yes.
easiest job ever. So having these, the opportunity to, hey, you know what, maybe I should get my license as a insurer, or for lending or
Yes.
investing, and on top of that, you get the knowledge because knowledge is power, and it gives you, whether you can work. Okay, I'm sure you can you work part time doing this as you get better at it.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, if they don't have any experience, what I usually, get them started is on a part-time basis. It is flexible hours, so I do get them started part-time, so that they can start learning, getting licensed, getting trained. A lot of them even, most of my agents, not all of them, but a lot of them have started part-time because they didn't have any experience, which I love. I love training what I call greenies, right? They don't know nothing. I rather train them correctly from the get-go than trying to retrain them, right? And wash their brains from all the old stuff and dirty and bad stuff they learned before. So yeah, so they can start part-time. And listen, it's like I always say, what's your backup plan, right? I always believe it's good to have a backup plan, not something to fall back on, but to fall forward to in the event anything was to happen. And so yes, definitely looking. So if there's anyone, and again, it could be in any state, looking to have another career, to learn about money, to and help others, definitely. Pacho, maybe they can put something on and send their information to you, a way to maybe contact them, or maybe you can share my email as well. That would be great.
Right. Oh, and before we let's show that the second slide,
Let's
before
do it.
we circle back. But in the Marine Corps, we call it greenies. We used to call them boots, or hey, you still smell like you still smell like cash sales, or you're a shower shoe, because that's what we used to use.
Oh my God. Okay, so all
But
right, so
kind
this
of
is
walk
the
me,
second slide.
yeah,
Yeah.
kind of walk me through this right quick.
Okay.
You
Okay.
know, building up the house, and then on this, just very briefly.
For sure. Yeah. I know there's a lot of stuff going on in this slide, so I'm going to definitely walk you through it. The reason that I chose this as the second slide that I have is because, again, this is the foundation of that financial house, that there's a lot more to talk about in building that house. But in the foundation, it's like I said, it's the income protection, the life insurance. And there is a wrong way and a right way to buy life insurance. Okay. Now, if we start with the one on the left-hand side, which says your cash value, okay, this example I'm going to show you, it's a whole life insurance. And in my opinion, these type of policies are definitely oversold, okay? And you'll see in a second why I mean that. So they sell these cash values, Bacho, as a life insurance that combines savings all in one, okay? And it might sound great initially, the idea of getting life insurance, and if nothing happens, you're going to get money back. But the problem is that most people buy without really knowing how it works. So here it's just showing you an example of a person age 30, they buy $100,000 of life insurance. It shows you there more or less at the age of 45. Right above it says 20,000 college. So what that means is by that time, let's say you have kids, you want to use some of that money to get them started in college, you have about 20,000 that you can use. If you didn't use it and you go over to the right at the age of 65, that would get you now to about $80,000. And keep in mind, all you've been paying is $83 a month. So for $83 a month, you've had 100,000 of insurance. By the age of 65, if nothing's happened, you have 80,000 that you can cash out or that you can get back. And you see that part right there, Bacho, that's mainly the only part that's explained to individuals. And that's the reason why, hence, a lot of people buy this type of insurance. What they don't explain to them, which is in fine print inside the policies, if you notice in bullet number 1, it says 1 year, 2 year. What that means is that for the first 2 years, there's zero money saved in there. And the reason for that is because for the first 2 years, the premiums you've paid are going to fees and very high commissions to the insurance company, to the agent. Again, hence why they love selling this, okay? Bullet number 2, it tells you after 2 years, the rate of return on that savings that starts to build up after year 2, it's very low. It's about 3 to 4% interest, okay? If bullet number 3 says 90%, if at any point, Bacho, you need to take some of that money out of your policy and you take all of it out, it cancels your insurance. So they're only going to let you take 90% as a loan where you got to pay back 6 to 10% interest. And this is supposedly your money. And the 6 to 10% is going back to the insurance company. It's not going back to you. Okay. So now there, bullet number 4, you got to age 65. You have 100,000 of insurance. They let you know you have 80,000 in the savings. Most people think that if they were to pass away at that point, that their beneficiary, Bacho, would get 180,000. And that's not the case. The beneficiary would receive only the 100,000 of insurance. Okay. Literally the $80,000 you lose. And if you notice there, it says minus loan. So if you had a loan outstanding, they're going to deduct the loan. They're going to deduct the interest of the loan. And that's why it shows you a question mark, because you really don't know exactly what your beneficiary would get. And if you live and you cash out your 80,000, there goes your life insurance policy, because you can't keep it active if you take it all out. Okay. Now, very quick, if you look to the right of that, what I'm showing here is an apples to apples comparison. The right way of buying life insurance is buying term insurance. It shows you their example when you pay for car insurance, home insurance, health insurance. It doesn't combine any savings. It's pure insurance on what you're protecting. Well, on life insurance, you're protecting your life. So this 30-year-old, right, when they get a term policy for approximately $30 a month, they're getting a $250,000 benefit. So more than double than the 100,000, right? For 35 years, that means that for the next 35 years, although we're getting older every year, you're still going to be paying the same $30 for the same $250. And then to the right of that, I always tell my clients the difference that you would have spent on that cash value, which is $53, let's invest that in a mutual fund portfolio. Okay, so we're doing that separately. You have your life insurance and you have your investments separate. If you notice, Bacho, between the first 2 years, you would have 1,400 approximately in that investment versus zero. Rate of return average is 8 to 12. If you ever need to take money out of your mutual fund, it's not a loan, Pacho, because it's your money. And at the age of 65, God forbid something happens, there's the $250 that goes to your beneficiary, plus your mutual fund would be at approximately $340,000. So your family, your beneficiary would be getting a total of $590,000 between the life insurance and the investment. And let's say now at 65 you live and you chose not to renew your policy, you still have $340,000 of your investment that we can agree is a whole lot better than 100 or 80, right or wrong.
Hey, that's some good stuff right there, Evelyn. And we can talk about this all day long. And so we only got a few minutes left, but so if anybody, I just want to throw this out there to the audience that, hey, if anybody's interested in learning more and getting in touch with you, you can go ahead and send me, put it on the comment section of the show, or send us a direct message at the Field Up, and we can go ahead and connect you and Evelyn as well, because you're building your. I myself myself too. I'm building my Instagram page. My
Yeah,
daughter's like, "Papi, you need to get going." So
I'm
you
working on
know,
that. I'm
but
working on that.
any last minute tidbits or anything that you want to say? Anybody you want to say hi to? Shout outs, all that good stuff.
No, I just appreciate everybody that's on. I hope that, it's been helpful for the time that we spent together, that any of the little tips that we've talked about can help somebody that's listening today. And definitely, I mean, if any questions or anything that maybe stayed unanswered, if they want to send you any questions or you want to connect them with me, I'd be more than happy to answer any other questions or concerns that they might have.
Evelyn, thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I know you're very busy, so being able to get you in this few 30 minutes has been some really good info. And can we bring you back? Would you? We would love to have you back.
Yes, Pacho, I would come back for you. So you just let me know. We'll definitely set something up again.
Definitely. Thanks so much, Evelyn. We
Thank you.
appreciate you. Thank you.
No, thank you guys. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Uh, Well, everybody, that's our show for today. We'll go ahead and bring Evelyn back another different time, and we'll dive into it. So, if anybody's interested on any topic in particular, throw it in the comments section, and we will definitely build a show around those topics and set you up for success. Because hey, the information that we're sharing, I mean, you would actually be paying. Evelyn charges a lot of good money to her clients, but she's willing to help everybody out here and in the field up to get you where you need to be. And before we punch out of here, I just want to say that one of the best and the only holiday that matters is coming up, and that is the Marine Corps birthday that is coming up in November. Just trying to throw that out there. But hey, look, if you've been struggling with anxiety, depression, ruminating thoughts, and just all the unnecessary shit that's from that you faced while you were in the service or even before, give us a call. Reach out to somebody. If you haven't heard from one of your buddies, do a buddy check. But we just don't want you to be part of statistics. One, I don't want to do no push-ups. I don't want to do none of that crazy shit. I just want you to stick around. So reach out to me if you need, and let me be that phone call, because everything has an answer and everything passes. Trust me on that. So, folks, with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and index. So, hoorah, get some. Adios, muchachos. We're out. Peace.